Welcome to the heat. Uh, Welcome to the heat. เคยเว้าเนาะเด้น้องลำ
ลองเด้อลำเด้อ
ผีผีผีผีผีผีใหญ่ผีน้อยผีดำผีแหลกเคยเว้าเนาะเด้ซื่อๆผีผีแตะ
Good. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the He. Today, we're here to explore womanhood, language, the He, and we have a very special guest today, extra special. She wrote a poem about the He. And here we have Victoria Gill.
Welcome, Victoria.
Yay! Can you introduce yourself to our audience? Where are you calling from? What should people know about you?
Yeah. Sabadi Tokon. Thank you for having me for the He podcast. And my name is Victoria Gill. And in order to properly introduce myself, I have to tell you who I am from. So my mother, Saliwat, is a Lao native, but born and raised in a small village in the Mongkol Borai district of Cambodia. And my father, Jasavant, is from a small village called Partapur in Punjab, India. My father came to the US in the 80s as an immigrant, but my mère and most of the maternal side of my family escaped the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia and then spent 5 years in the Thailand refugee camps and finally came to the US in the famous year of 1979. And my parents met and settled down on unceded Miwok land that's now Stockton, California. And which, by the way, remains one of the 3 historical primary cities in the US with the largest Lao Cambodian refugee populations. And so I want to shout out to all the other Pinong at Long Beach in California and Lowell, Massachusetts.
Hey. Well, we're so happy to have you here. You're actually our first guest on the He, and a very esteemed person that you are. You're an academic, you're an educator, and a mother, which I feel like all of us are intersecting in those spaces too, right? Of education and motherhood and care. So it's actually really interesting that we're on the He, where we talk about all of those things, right? And really like reclaiming our power.
We would love for everyone to hear your poem. It's actually how we heard about you. One day, Nisa and I were like, "Oh, what should we talk about regarding the heat?" And she sends me this poem, right? And I'm like, "Ooh, oh, hey, who is she? Oh my God, let's bring her on." Like, it's something that we've talked about for a while. Let's bring on Victoria. She should be our first guest. So here we are, season 2. You are our first guest. And we'd love for you to read the poem.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This is number 34, Luk Lao. Mung ok chahi Lao, mung dong bao Lao. You came out of a Lao pussy, you have to speak Lao. Me Lao, Luk Lao tua. Lao mother means a Lao child, of course. These were my mother's battle cries. We not only survive, but we toil to thrive. School is where the head is. Keep your Lao aside. Home is where the heart is. Keep your English outside. Knowing when to use which words where keeps us alive. I am of her blood and bones, survivor warriors of the unknown, of refugee camps, of clashing thrones, of the Khmer genocide. There's nothing for me to decide. I embrace her unwillingness to hide. Dutifully, I abide. Kun Mae Lao Isan fought for her life, and now we fight for her language. For I am Luk Lao. I hold on to it tight, this legacy. It is the air I need to breathe. In this way, we, she, and our ancestors remain in existence in immortality.
Oh my God, that sounded so much better coming from you. Well, we read it. I mean, we already felt it was powerful when we read it, but we didn't read it like that.
Yeah, like I could hear your mom like in those first couple of lines. I was like, wait, we didn't even read it like aloud, mom. We were like trying to read it like cafe poet.
But we're reading it like people who just barely spoke the language. We're like,
Gotta read it with Lao mom in mind. Yeah.
Hearing it from you is like on another level. So, can you tell us what inspired you to write that poem?
Yeah. I mean, map and puxing tung kong kwai. Okay, so my mother is my everything, and I'm because of her. So she is the one who really inspired me to do this, and the fact that my mother tongue is my inheritance. Having been raised by refugees and genocide survivors, we've all heard the stories about how much we lost and what was taken, forgotten, and erased. We've heard all of the stories of our parents and families coming here with only the clothes on their back, and our generation, we're learning to understand our elders and ourselves through the lens of generational trauma. But yet, what I learned from my mother, she fiercely insisted that our language, the Lao language, shall never be lost across the seas or just left in the camps, right? She insisted that even if they didn't have wealth or materials to pass down, wumi tong, wumi ngun, things like that, they had language as legacy. And so, my ancestors didn't survive, so our language and culture could die. So I wrote this poem as a way to tell my story, her story, our story, to write it into like immortality.
Mhm. That's really beautiful. I mean, I feel like that's what this he is all about, man. How about Lil Man? And you telling about can you tell us what kind of woman she is and how you view her and how that inspires the he?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Like I said, I am because of her. And my mother is the kind of woman who won't let any man or damn country stop her from living her life. Okay. Like she's the first feminist in my life. And for example, when she was in the camps, my mother said that they wouldn't let the girls leave the compound. And so only boys were allowed to sneak out. And then so she found a way to sneak out.
You're not playing.
Yeah, I know, okay, well, and then when her brothers were all learning how to drive in the States, they didn't let my mom learn, and so she went behind their back, stole a car, for 2 days went on a joyride. And, when my dad forbade my mom to teach us English, like, he actively said, like, "No, like, English assimilation is the only way to succeed here," and then she shouted like that poem, "Mừng học cho hỉ Lào, mừng tông vào Lào," right? She really meant that, like, with her full chest, she just said, my child out of my pussy is going to speak the mother tongue. And so, she went against my father, basically the patriarchy, right? And so, that's the kind of woman my mom is. So, yeah.
Wow. So that she said that in response to like boundaries that your dad was trying to set around language and like assimilation, right? English and all of those things. But she said it to you, right? Because she said moon.
Yeah, because yeah, her husband may have told her, but she's so intelligent, like she's so incredibly intelligent. She doesn't have a degree or formal education, and yet her analytical mind knew that she was playing the long game, not the run game of survival like my dad, like I don't blame him for that, but immigrant mentality of survival, right? But she was thinking the long game of a thriving legacy. She knew that the fact that I'm also bi-ethnic, she knew that she was fighting against patriarchy, which prioritizes the father's name, culture, and lineage, right? And then on top of that, because I'm first generation born in the US, she knew she was also fighting against white supremacy. And so teaching us the language and the ways of our people was really for her a project towards the future for cultural and linguistic preservation. It's amazing.
I already love her. I mean, I think we're all here because our moms, like, what
Yeah.
they everything that they told us about the he, whether, it's stuck to my body and I lose it, whether it's "Pumbuvi hibulang," like, they use it and it's so powerful because I feel like in our language, I mean, it sounds inappropriate, but it doesn't, but we can talk about the he, you
Yeah.
know, and what it
It's a very
represents.
intimate way of talking.
Mhm.
Like, how did you view that between like your home language and your mother tongue, and then like you're on this track to academia, right? And it's like your mom saying like moo and he. I will just say like my mom is not like that. She's very much into respectability. But she also has friends who are like that. And she'll hang out with them and like every once in a while she'll join in, but like, she would never say that to me. Right. But when I read her the poem, she was like, oh yeah. Like, how did you view that about your mom's language?
Yeah, appreciate that question. But first, I want to specifically say that my family speaks the dialects. You know how there's different dialects, um, Lao Puan, all that stuff. So my family is Nya, so we speak Lao Nya,
Mm.
and yeah, yeah. And the way that my mother speaks about he, it's hilarious and it's refreshingly sarcastic. You know, like when she's mad, thinking my sister is lazy, she'll be like, "Ow, yeah, ni 就让低 like like spreading love, and I just think that's hilarious, right? Or when someone calls her and it's just like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she'll answer, you know, "Chào hết yang," and then she'll just be like, "Tí hí." Like,
"Ako nang pihi yunim." What do you mean, quit niya?
Her way of saying like, do shit.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here, got my legs all spread, doing nothing.
actually, it's just a whole nother level of savai, right? Tí hí. But yeah, so but on a more deeper level, I love how she talks because it's subversive, you know? I love it because it's a big, like, middle finger to the patriarchy. It's reclaiming our bodies and femininity of our power. Like, I hardly ever, like you said, Nisa, like, hardly ever heard any other woman or aunt or elder say that as openly and as freely as my met, right? Because we had to be good girls, right? Punying pangkan mi kwam, okay, mi kwam supap,
Mhm.
politeness, must embody kwam bi, okay, girlness, right? And so in a world where Asian women, you know, particularly South Asian women,
Mhm.
and then also the rampant sex industries on our motherlands, right? Women are expected to be docile. And so when my mat uses unapologetically he, I think that's her way to be subversive to respectability politics, and it's just so radical. You know, you ask me how I interpret this, I think it's her, "Fuck you, suck my clit," you know?
I love that.
I love it, you know, I
Mhm,
interpret it her unapologetic uses of he as just liberating. You know, I think in a world where our bodies, especially our he's,
mhm,
are sold, used, owned, and subjugated towards so much pain and oppression,
mhm.
my mother's and our unapologetic, you know, centering and celebration of the he, it's reclaiming of the pussy for pleasure and power.
My goodness, I could tell. Yeah, I was gonna ask you how comfortable you were talking about the he, but I think you've answered it. You comfortable. You you are the perfect guest for us right now. May
You
I he?
a mass
May I
session,
he?
a mass session.
Yeah, bring
Just
Noy's mom on, right?
And they could talk to each other, and they could say how inappropriate we are talking about the he that we learned from them.
yeah. Did
Yan
you
mapasay.
Yin
You!
there.
Yan
And we do
mapasay.
them.
I'm like, I ever look at them and say, "What do you mean? I came from Yahi and I act just like you,
And that's what you wanted.
isn't it?"
Yeah.
What is the
Yeah.
significance of using Lao language, script, and culture in your academic work? Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. I've that's a long answer, but, I just wanna say first, like, learning Lao script was a matter of personal connection. My mother said she wasn't allowed to continue her schooling after 6th grade in the village. She was needed to be at home taking care of the siblings and the house, and then when she came to the US, she went to the local community college called San Joaquin Delta College, and that provided her with a basic, you know, English as second language education. But, like, do not feel bad for her. Like, most of the world and the population, 60% of the world is multilingual, whereas 75% of Americans are monolingual, and so my mother is a citizen of the world, so she knows Lao, Thai, Cambodian, and she's conversational in Vietnamese and English, and so
Ooh.
I feel like all our elders, before all the borders were
It was
drawn,
normal.
they it was so normal.
We
Yeah.
we know 4 languages.
Yeah, like, casually.
Mhm. We're all polyglots.
Very much so, very much so. Thankfully, a couple of years ago, I discovered the online classes with, the Southeast Asian Diaspora Project, the AKA the SEED project. They're the ones, they have that language, workshop, but they call the Sea Roots, and it's 8 weeks, language literacy intensive in Lao, Hmong, Cambodian, and Vietnamese, and so I'm very grateful I was able to get a scholarship through them to attend and have the privilege to learn with my wonderful Lao teacher. Shout out to Ku Stacy Penglat, and check them out, please. But for other listeners, but yeah, learning the language of our ancestors on a basic level, it, yes, allows you to connect with your elders and your community, but on a higher level, it really, I feel, it allows you to time travel, to world travel. You know, when I use my mother tongue, I learn about history and from the really rich well of my elders' memories. And when I used my mother tongue in Laos, I've never been there before, but that first trip didn't feel like, oh, I'm a new touristy experience. You know, it felt like a homecoming, and that was just so beautiful for me. Um, but on the professional level, like in academia, as a professor, researcher, scholar, like using Lao language for me was significant because in a world and society that is like really works hard to erase us, you know, every story, every poem helps us live. It helps keep us alive. And so, especially in academia, where the understanding is, oh, the white way is the only right way, where there's still an obsession with Anglo Eurocentric ways of being. And so, me engaging in my cultural knowledges and wisdoms, it means I'm able to continue the lifelong work of just deprogramming myself from white supremacy, from imperialism, from capitalism, from patriarchy. And so I find ways to carve our languages and histories and stories into my poetry and research, especially in a time and place where they hate us, deport us, fund governments to bomb us. Loving myself and my people, carving them into the academic journals, into the boards of the classrooms, it's subversion, and for me, it's soul work.
I resonate with that so much because I also took the seed roots class, and those 8 weeks to just, like, learn basic decoding, it did open up another world for me because I took the class actually after my first trip to Laos. But my first trip to Laos was very similar to you, like, nothing really felt foreign. I think our parents and families did such an amazing job of transporting anything that they could through food and music and memories, and, you know, I was like, nothing felt weird. I'm really glad that you share that about your experience because I'm trying to get all of my sisters to go home at least once and experience, what it's like to be there. But I just want to say about your academic work is it's so inspiring because as somebody who works in language and with multilingual students and immigrants too, like, I have also been thinking about ways to bring myself and my bilingual, multilingual identities to my work, right? And so to see other people bringing Lao language and Lao words and Lao script and be published, right? Because that's such a big deal to be published, right? But it is. So, I mean, that's how we found you. And now we're able to cite you, not even like in a traditional way, like cite you just as somebody else who is like me and Noy. It was like the joy of our semesters. We would just like, we have all of these audio notes where we're just talking about the he. And we're just like, I've said the word he probably like a bazillion times already. But, it's, like, somewhat validating to be like, "Oh, well, our sis Victoria Gill is a professor, and she wrote this poem, and she writes in Lao, and she publishes." So, um, it's really important to be out there. So I do wanna ask you, how do you engage with people who are not Lao speakers or Thai, right? Because it's a similar word in Thai. Like, how do you talk about the he with them? Like, where do you even start?
Yeah, totally. And this answer is I usually don't because I am hella mindful of the over fetishization, over sexualization of Southeast Asian women. I'm very discerning with who I share pieces of myself and culture with. And this might be like an unpopular belief, but I don't think everything is meant for everyone, you know? In high school, I once dated this white guy, and his stepdad, who's like a white boomer guy, was just like, "Where are you from? You know, where are your parents from?" And our favorite question. And so I shared with that my mother's from Lao, or she's Lao. He didn't know what that was, not surprising. And so I reminded him the geography and said it's close to Thailand. And so Ripple fixed his ignorant mouth to say, "Oh, well, we know about them Thai women." And it was like, "Oh, wow, okay." So with that in mind, I usually engage in my, like, transnational and feminist women's like, Asian women feminisms first and foremost with non-Lao and Thai folks. It's unpopular, but I think in the right circumstance, I really believe that gatekeeping is important. Hear me out. In a world where colonization doesn't respect boundaries and it works to co-opt our cultures, our food, our fashion, our languages, I think gatekeeping is important. And like I know this can be viewed as controversial, especially among like our own people, right? Because then they'll say, "Oh, you're so divisive. Everything is meant to be shared. We want them to like us and show pride." No, no. Protecting is ours is not divisive. White supremacy comes with this big time entitlement. You are not entitled to everything. That arrogance is so annoying. And we can show pride without simping to white supremacy,
Mhm.
right? And, sure, I'd be happy to be, relax on the gatekeeping. But if more folks understood how to like appreciate instead of appropriate, that would be great, but that's not the reality. So that really leads me to believe that when I engage other folks about our language and our culture, I have to like meet them where they are at because everyone's at a different, path on their journey towards critical consciousness. Some people are just barely seeing the path, others are already organizing, changing their practices. And then there's the folks who are actively trying to set that path and those who walk it on fire, right? And so it's not about equality where everyone gets the same thing. It's about equity, where everyone gets what they need. And so, with that in mind, I feel like to protect our well being, our elders, our culture and language, our babies, our future, we really need to practice like a keen sense of like discernment.
And how are we meeting you on that part?
No, this is why I'm, like, happy because you are cultural insiders. You're cultural insiders, and I know that people are saying, "Oh, that binary of insider, outsider," but I think that you can't be too quick to just dismiss that there is a in value to being a cultural insider. Just like in academia, you have all these, like, quote, unquote, doing, like, silly research on our communities, and they don't take a moment to ask, "Who are you to be doing this work? Who are you to be holding our stories?" Right? This is a research project that I did a couple years ago. But before the We Need Diverse Books movement came out, before that movement came out, people were winning, white people specifically, were winning book tours and awards for stories that they were telling about our people.
Tell me a million stories about our people.
I
Who's gonna pay me?
Yeah, no one. That's why, because the system is set up that way, but yeah, so I think it's really important to ask, like, who are we to be doing this work? Who are we sharing with? And I know that in the white world, they have this, like, myth of objectivity and all of that stuff, but it's we're human beings working with other human beings, and we would be remiss to, like, not even consider their full intersectional identities, and so yeah, yeah.
My
That's
goodness.
a really thoughtful answer because I know, like, even just the way that we set up our show, it's like I was like, "We have to have the word feminist in there," because
The
it is
he.
out there in the public and people who are my friends who are not Lao, or maybe they are, but they might be, like, cis men. They're like, "Oh, you have a podcast about the he?"
Right.
And I'm just like, you've never heard it, have you? And you don't even, like, know what we are talking about and what we're grounding it in. It is so, like you said, it's so culturally inside, right? And it's really, like, it's different when women talk about it than when men talk about it.
I mean, one of the first things that I always was thinking about was I'm like, how good is her Lao, right? And it's not like whether your Lao is good or not. I loved how your Lao, like how you were able to vocalize the he and how your mother was able to talk about like the way that we say it. It's so powerful. I really love that about you. "Puwa hawa pasa Lao," and we practice with it. And like my Lao has been getting worse lately, but the part that never went away was everything inappropriate about Lao. And that's how I feel like I stay connected to my and I love talking about this. I've always never felt any shame in talking about เรื่อง he.
Yeah.
So like in เรื่อง anything insulting, like กินเหล้าหน่อยนึง, and I'm just like, "มึงอย่ากินตีนกูเปล่า?" You know? gintin, like, I had a whole section on just gintin, like,
Yeah.
kin fatin, kin sontin, like, we were going on different levels, and we're all like, "Oh, wow, that is really dirty, that is really low," like,
Wow.
you know, and that why I wasn't sure, I was like, "Does she wrote it in Lao, but how, like, powerful is it?" And you saying it, like, I loved, like I said, I like having you on this show just because of that. You did not say read it the way that we read it. You heard us. Not no he oh, like, we were reading it like we were Kun Kao or something, you know? So why? Why does funny Kun Kao เรื่องหีนี่นะ you know?
Exactly. Yes. See, not everything is for everyone, and you get it better than any.
Yeah, so, like, for me, I'm like, let's have an informal, 5-minute thing where,เขาว่าเรื่องราวเรื่องผีเรื่องหยังก็ได้, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm very proud to have you, like, be able to vocalize the loud part and express it the way that it was meant to be expressed.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. I was just channeling my inner Matt, like it was the record of my childhood over. She wouldn't feed us unless we responded in Lao, you know? I would just be like, I'm hungry after school. She would ignore me. And then I would stand in the kitchen, like, feed me. And she's like, oh, yeah, what are you doing here? Like, "ไม่อยากจะกินข้าวบ่ถามเสร็จภาษาลาวหน่อยสินะ" And then I would have to. And I was angry with that when I was growing up. But I'm so grateful for her foresight, for her intelligence, for preserving that language and culture.
that's how we started out. Nisa asked me, "Hey, can you come up with, like, a research of insults?" I didn't even know I had it
Like,
in me.
มาด่าคนไง
I came up with pages, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm a researcher, I'm a he-searcher," like, I took it very seriously, I went by pop links, I went by he insults, I went
And
by
her mom
he
right there
insults,
asking her.
did I say it right? Like, I went by, like, how ugly are you research, comparisons of ugliness,
Yeah. Feet.
and, like, for me, that's always been my connection with being Lao, I feel like, you know, I'm a person who doesn't really say too much, so whatever I say, I maybe that's the Lao part of me. You want it to have an impact, what little we say, even just my little comments, it's really cute. Like Nisa would tell me, "Hey, I was just talking to so and so the other day," and she was like, "Oh my god, what would Noy say? Pomovi hiwalang, like is Ivy pomani, like." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm being referenced by my friends." Yeah, I was like, I'm known for like literal he terms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I take it seriously too. Like yesterday, I called one of my Ue Sinet. Shout out to her. Ule is her Lao name. My Lao name is just like Ki, because the short of
He.
Victoria is
Yeah.
Ki, and they would just call me Iki. Well, technically,
Mm.
when I was younger, they used to call me Idam because my
Mhm.
dad is Indian and I was darkest person in the family, so they would call me Idam growing up. But
They didn't
almost
even start with Ila, like they started with Idam.
nope. They just went like, "Idam." Or you know how our culture, you
Oh,
know
you're fat, like, it's a descriptor, like, "Hey, Itoy,
yeah,
Itoy."
oh, that's my older cousin, Ichot.
But what
Well,
I wanna
Noy
know
was Noy when she was born.
oh, yeah, this is the favorite part, okay, I was born Noi, right? So every elder that I meet is, "Oy, Noi, แม่เจ้าคือมาเอิ้นน้อยคือบ่เอิ้นใหญ่"
It's brutal. So savage.
Yeah. I mean, they are vicious, like some of them, when I got older, teenage years, I was like, joy, right?
Yeah.
And then like, they don't see you for a while and literally at a funeral, one of the OGs was like, "No, I took him a double." I said, "What?" That double, mung double. I said, "Bitch called me double. She called me double in size. Oh my God." My mom, he did a hand gesture so I could understand what it meant.
That's funny. That's
They're
funny.
savage. But I laughed at the same time. Like I was insulted, but I was laughing at the same time.
Creative.
Yeah, if you can insult someone so badly that they laugh at you, I mean, that's
And the multilingualism.
Chọc như cà
yeah,
bô.
exactly.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
use English to insult me.
I know. Hilarious.
Well, I have a question, Victoria, because you mentioned like your childhood record, and Noy always talks about growing up in Chicago, right? That's where she grew up with some badass Lao kids, which is like where she learned a lot of these things, right? So
Yeah.
between her mom and like the kids in the street.
Swearing at the kids.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, what was your childhood like growing up in Stockton that has such a large population of Lao folks too?
Oh, man, that's true. I'm very privileged and very lucky. As I look back, when I was younger, it was annoying because I couldn't do anything naughty, right? Because then my mom would just be like, "อ้าวป้าน่ะบ่เห็นเจ้าอยู่พู้นน่ะเจ้าเฮ็ดหยังได้กับผู้ชายบ่ป้าก็บอกเจ้าป้าน่ะบอกข้อยนะ" And then I'm like, "Oh my god, people are snitching on me. People in the community are just I can't even date. I couldn't date อีกแล้วอีเป็นกิหลีบ่เฮ้อมึงเป็นจักเที่ยว" already calling me a hoe. But yeah,
Preemptively.
it was wonderful. I'm really, really so blessed and lucky. It felt like growing up in a very tight knit, organized Lao Cambodian Buddhist community. Went to Wat every Sunday. Had to learn how to do the traditional dancing at the Wat. To
Oh.
that right, yeah, doing that, the classical dancing, the all the stuff, like, every other Sunday, someone's bun or some bun katin or some paitak bat, okay? Like, there's always something happening, right? And, being part of the community. The other day, I went to CVS to pick up my medication, I saw a pa there, and we just, like, went into having a conversation, and it was wonderful to just be able to turn anywhere and see community and family. I'm very, very lucky, for sure. And, when I don't know anything or they're very nice when I'm just, like, curious about how to say certain things or stuff like that. Like, I asked my older cousin, and, she's like, "You know that there's a more vulgar word for pussy, right?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, there is. It's, like, really, really vulgar, though." And then in my head, I was like, "I thought he was, like, it," you know? And she's like, "No, no, no, there's more, and the word is that." Eat that liver. What? I totally forgot about that, and so I was like, "Oh,
Told you they would say eat a butt. And then they would say eat that a butt, you know? So
yeah,
when you hear that song, they heal a butt song.
okay, yeah." When we were children, it was emo,
Yep. Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Wha
You would hear that, yeah.
But that's, when
No,
you're
it's
younger, yeah, and then it was like he, and then apparently there's a whole 'nother level, which is that, so
yeah,
that
I heard that really young,
I've never
I
heard
was
that.
like yeah, I don't know how I didn't remember eat that little bit, like, I'm so glad you refreshed me.
Wait, so why cousin
added
bring
to the
this
list.
up? Because you were talking to her about coming on the show?
Yeah, and then she got her mom to be like, "Iki น่ะถามให้หยังสิไปเฮ็ดหยังเว้ากับผีกับขไผบ่อายบ่?" Like, just like I should be embarrassed, like, "Who the hell are you talking about the pussy
Mm.
with?" And just like, "Who wants to know about the pussy?" Like, "Oh, ถ้าก็อยากถามนะให้เขาโทรหาข้อยนะ." And I was like, "Okay, I'll have them call
Gave
you."
us her
Hello แม่ป้าข้อยเว้านำหลานเจ้าเว้าเรื่องผีกับเว้าเรื่องแปดโอเคอืม
She would love that. Yeah, the aunties, they're not holding back anymore.
Forgot about the cat, bro. I don't know how I missed it.
show.
Like, the moment she said, I was like, "Eat that labut." Like, how could I remember? Have you heard the He Labut song?
Yes. Have you heard it lately?
Like, I heard it as, like, a 12-year-old, and then I listened to it again as a 40-year-old, and it was very
Dude, I have not heard it since then,
I
so
mean,
gosh,
he's
I'd
from
I'd
your
have to
neck of the woods, right? He's from San Jose. Did
Mm.
you ever, did you hear it when it came out when you were younger?
I mean, it's sort of like in the background, like, it's like but
He Labut. He Labut. And people talked about it like they were saying like it was a good thing or, they're like, "Oh, yeah, that pussy is bomb." And I'm like, "That is not what that means."
you know
That is not what ihilabut means. It's only it's a literal English translation, but that is not what it means.
Right. Correct.
That's how you
Correct.
translate it, right? Like, or the bomb, but like, also labut, are you saying it's like a bomb or are you saying it's exploding? Like, there's so many ways.
It's definitely exploding.
Definitely exploding.
And it's not exploding in the nice way that
No.
people misinterpret that bomb exploding, okay?
Yeah.
You
I'm
know, like
push for like the pleasure perspective. I'm like, oh, she came. Well, she had an orgasm.
that's so
Wait,
cute.
and
That is so cute that you think that.
I know. I wish.
What's so cute that they thought that? When I heard it, I'm going around like, "Gila, but that is respecting you to say to
we
me."
need a remake. I feel like we should
Aw,
get
that's
Lena
so funny.
V to rewrite that from like pleasure principle and sing
And
it because she's a
sing it.
singer. She's a singer and a rapper. I was gonna ask, how do we get more guests to come on the heat? And I was like, do we ask them, do you want to come on?
Oh my god. Oh my god,
And I was like,
man.
oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh.
And then I get to Noy, and Noy was like, Noy,
Bottom hit.
who likes
My bottom
Noy,
lawless.
was like,
You know I'm not an appropriate person. Like, if you got me saying no, it's a little bit too
funny because
much.
it's a pun. Yeah.
Yeah, we get it.
Oh,
Like, I had to tail down her hoin for her, like, what she wanted to present to the hoin. When
yeah.
she sent me a picture, I said, "We cannot post that picture. That is not a he, that is a fat that you're sending me.
Another
That would be
level
the
up.
best way to solve. You were sending me a
So I
fat."
need help with the
And
content making.
yeah, so I had to take it and color it a little, and I said, "I think we need to be more like a representation of the he, not a literal fat." With the oyster she sent me looked like a fat, you know?
You might as well. Well, I mean,
And I'm not good at podcasting, I'm only good at talking shit. Okay, well, that's a wrap. I'm so glad we had you on here.
no, I just appreciate all the work that you're doing and centering the he, centering feminisms, centering our elders, our moms. It's just love that you've carved out this space for us when normally the only space is, on the sat at the table together, but on a wider platform is incredible. And so thank you for expanding that platform for our people and the women in our families.
I really love what she just said. Like, the visual YouTube
Oh
setup,
my
that's
God.
perfect. But remember, we are the he, we are not the fat.
That's true.
We have some class, okay? Helping. Ani he podcast, any moment that podcast, okay?
That is gonna be like the
Helping
after
putting
dark.
me class, okay?
We're not ready for that.
We can have an episode called The Fat, though. We
Just
need
saying. I'm
yes.
just learning about that. So I need
Oh, so she needs more research on
yeah,
the fat.
yeah, I
Yeah,
need
and
to learn.
I somehow forgot about
Well,
the
you need
fat. I
to
don't know how, but
remember. You
thank
learn.
you. Thank you for
Yes.
reminding me of
Yeah.
that. I appreciate. Oh, she's giving me all these flashbacks of my language. It's really
What
helping.
happens when we come together?
If you ever do one for aunties or moms, like I will volunteer my mom about it. And so I think she'd be happy to. She's always asking me to like record her life story since I was a
Okay.
kid. And yeah, so she's
Let's
open
do
to it.
Yeah, we could have a whole
Because your
docuseries on
mom,
that.
we could also volunteer her.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She would.
My mom volunteers herself all the time without knowing it.
That's why you're our first consenting guest.
I know. I'm like, what did they mean by consenting? Are they
And her mom, she kind of sleep. Your questions about, how you be saying this shit about my heat? Mom can't stand it.
just love it?
This is like a very generative conversation because we have like lineages of people now to tap into with our research.
That was a good one. I want to thank our audience. Please listen up, subscribe, download, we're going to talk more about the he, and it's not always what you think.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the He censored feminist musings from the minds of Noy Munduang and Sunisa Nuansi. We created the space to vaulin namkan, but also to look and listen critically to our mother cultures and traditions. We're starting by reclaiming the he. Kapchay Lailai, Pinong, and big ups to all our friends and fam for going on this healing journey with us.